This is the story of Patrick Langi, a member of the feared Comancheros motorcycle club, and the violent chain of events that shook Auckland to its core. But this isn't just another gang story. It's about revenge, gunfire, and innocent families caught in the crossfire. We're diving deep into what happened, why it happened, and how the law finally caught up. It's a raw look at crime, consequence, and the steep price some pay for life inside a gang. Patrick Langi wasn't just a hang-around or a low-level member. He wore the gang's colors as a patched member, fully committed to the Comancheros. Originally from Australia, the Comancheros built a powerful presence in New Zealand. Known for their tough image, they weren't your typical biker club. Their name alone conjures images of intimidation, control, and organized crime. Inside the club, loyalty was everything. Strength was shown through action, and silence was expected. Money often came from drug trafficking, weapons, and extortion. Life inside meant pressure to prove yourself, often through violence. Despite constant surveillance from police, the gang still held a strong pull, especially for young men like Patrick, who were searching for belonging, power, and protection in a harsh world. But once you're in, getting out isn't easy. The gang's rules follow you everywhere, and trying to leave can cost you more than just your membership. That's exactly what happened when one member, Khalid Sly Manul, decided he wanted out. He was done with gang life, but walking away wasn't simple. The Comancheros demanded an exit fee, a payment expected from those who wanted to leave. When Khalid refused to pay, things quickly escalated. What followed was more than a warning. It was a message, and Patrick Langi was a key part of delivering it. This wasn't just about settling scores, it was about making an example. Patrick, along with fellow gang member Elijah Meyer, was sent to send that message, not to Khalid directly, but to his loved ones. The gang chose to target Khalid's family homes, people who had nothing to do with the internal conflict. Their homes became the backdrop for a brutal show of force. On the night of August 25, 2023, Patrick Langi wasn't just a gang member anymore. He became a player in a violent act designed to keep others in line, no matter who got hurt. This is the true story of loyalty turned lethal, and the devastating impact it left behind. The plan was set in motion with stolen vehicles. Patrick Langi and Elijah Meyer carried out drive-by shootings at two separate homes connected to Khalid's family. The first attack took place in Mangere, where gunfire. The second shooting followed a similar pattern. Another family home was sprayed with bullets. A man inside tried to escape and was grazed by a bullet. Both cars used in the attacks were later found burned, an obvious attempt to destroy evidence and throw off investigators. This wasn't random violence. It was deliberate, calculated intimidation. What made it even more disturbing was the amount of planning behind it. The attackers didn't act impulsively. They knew exactly where they were going. Evidence later revealed that Patrick and Elijah had used Google Maps to locate the addresses and even conducted their own surveillance. Elijah took photos of the targeted homes in advance, confirming their intent. Despite the planning, police acted swiftly. They found gunshot residue on Patrick and Elijah's clothes and in their vehicle. CCTV footage and witness statements placed them at the scenes. Their early denials couldn't stand up to the growing pile of evidence. Patrick was caught in a case that left little room for escape. But it wasn't just the crime itself that shocked the public. It was the impact. These homes didn't belong to rival gang members. They belonged to innocent families. Children were put in danger. Neighbors were left shaken. The violence had spilled far beyond the walls of gang life, into quiet streets where people simply lived their lives. It was a chilling reminder that gang conflicts don't stay contained. They spread into homes, into communities, and into the lives of people who have nothing to do with the fight. Patrick's role wasn't just about carrying out an attack. It was about enforcing a code. In the Comancheros, rules are enforced through fear and force. Leaving the gang without permission isn't an option, and if someone tries, the consequences are clear. And they often extend to anyone connected to the person. As the investigation unfolded, the full scope of the plan became clear. Police were able to link the burned vehicles to the scene through forensic evidence, including gunshot residue. Surveillance footage showed the stolen cars arriving and leaving, giving investigators a timeline. Witnesses reported hearing the shots and seeing the vehicles flee through the streets. It all pointed back to Patrick and Elijah. Digital evidence helped seal the case. Police recovered search history, location data, and images that proved the pair had been scouting their targets in advance. These weren't impulsive acts of violence. They were cold, calculated attacks, designed to send a message. To fully understand what happened, detectives had to dig into the inner workings of the Comancheros. Interviews with informants, former members, and community sources revealed a gang fighting to keep control. Patrick and Elijah's actions were meant to do more than punish Khalid. They were designed to frighten anyone else considering the same move. In gang culture, fear is a tool. Violence is the language. Rules aren't suggestions, they are enforced with brutal consistency. As the case against Patrick grew stronger, his options narrowed. Forensic evidence, surveillance footage, digital trails, and eyewitness accounts all lined up. His denial meant little in the face of so much proof. The gang couldn't shield him from the law, and he couldn't shield himself. Beyond the criminal charges, the attacks left scars in the community. Families were traumatized. Neighborhoods felt unsafe. Aucklanders began calling for stronger action to protect communities from gang violence. It became clear that this wasn't just a criminal case. It was a wake-up call. This wasn't just about bullets fired into homes. It was about the fear that gripped an entire city and the high cost of loyalty to a violent code. This marked a turning point. The investigation into Patrick Langi was extensive, and the evidence against him was strong. It was only a matter of time before the legal system caught up with a man who once believed he could enforce gang rules without consequence. As the investigation concluded, the case moved into the courtroom, where the stakes were higher and the outcome less predictable. This wasn't just a trial about a gang member committing a crime. It was about seeking justice for the families who endured that terrifying night. The charges were serious: reckless discharge of a firearm, arson for burning the stolen vehicles, and attempted murder, among others. But as is often the case in complex legal proceedings, things didn't unfold exactly as expected. Patrick Langi pleaded guilty to several charges, including reckless shooting and arson. In return, the charge of attempted murder was dropped as part of a plea deal. Plea bargains are not uncommon. They save the court time and resources, and may lead to a reduced sentence for the accused. But they don't erase the gravity of the crime. The judge emphasized this point clearly. Patrick's actions had serious, far-reaching consequences. Shooting into family homes, endangering children and neighbors, wasn't just gang-related violence. It was a direct threat to the broader community. Throughout the trial, the evidence painted a stark picture. These attacks were not impulsive. They were calculated and deliberate. meant to punish Khalid Slimane for attempting to leave the gang. But the consequences extended far beyond him. Families were left traumatized. Fear lingered in the neighborhoods long after the last bullet was fired. The courtroom also offered a rare glimpse into the inner workings of organized gangs, a world where loyalty is demanded and betrayal is met with swift, often violent retaliation. For Patrick, pleading guilty was a step toward accountability, but it also opened a door to sentencing that could define the rest of his life. His fate now rested in the hands of the justice system, as the community awaited a verdict that could set an example. This case was a stark reminder. Gang violence doesn't stay confined to those directly involved. It spills into everyday lives, threatening people who have no part in the conflict. Patrick Langi's case is not just about one man's downfall. It reflects the larger reality of gang life in New Zealand, how power, fear, and control ripple through communities. The shootings weren't just acts of violence. They were messages, calculated warnings to anyone thinking of breaking the gang's code. But the fallout was devastating. Innocent families were forced to live with the trauma. Children who should have been safe in their beds found themselves in the middle of gang warfare. Neighbors were left shaken by the sound of gunfire echoing through their streets. The emotional scars run deep. On the other side, Patrick's story serves as a cautionary tale. Gangs like the Comancheros offer a sense of belonging and status, but demand total obedience. Defiance, even by association, is punished severely. Patrick's decision to follow orders led to a criminal conviction, a ruined future, and a long prison sentence. His guilty plea and reduced charges do not change the impact of his actions. They simply close one chapter and begin another, a life shaped by consequence. But this story raises larger questions too. What drives young people into gangs? How can communities intervene before violence erupts? And what systems are needed to support those who want out, like Khalid Slimane, without fear of retribution? Police and community organizations continue working to address these issues, but the challenges run deep. Gangs like the Comancheros are entrenched, and their influence spreads far beyond their members. Patrick Langi's case reminds us that violence is not just a headline, it's real life. Justice may bring some closure, but healing takes far longer. The hope is that stories like this fuel new conversations about safety, support, and the need for lasting change. This isn't just about punishment. It's about building communities where no family lives in fear of drive-by shootings, where loyalty doesn't come at the cost of violence. Patrick's story shows how dangerous the gang world can be, but it also shows that the cycle can be broken if the right choices are made and the right support systems are in place.